Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for the BRS Show. Let's welcome Balwan Singh.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Balwan Singh Radio Show. Once again, it's a great pleasure of mine to present the Balwan Singh Radio Show, coming your way simultaneously this afternoon on 6:20 a.m. in the New York City, New Jersey area. Good afternoon to our listeners in AM 620. And to the regulars on 87.7 FM. And those of you listening to us on the internet, wherever we stream, from Valley Stream right down to Guyana, South America, and the rest of the world, good afternoon to you. Well, thank you very much, Mr. King Singh. DJ King Singh is in the house, and he's going to be playing some of the music you'll be hearing for the first 30 minutes. And if you beg him, and I beg him, he'll probably stay a little longer. And the first couple of songs that you'll be listening will be selected for us this week by a doctor. We've got a doctor in the house. I'd like to say welcome to Dr. Brooke Balchan. She's right here in the studio, and she'll be talking with me, and we'll be addressing some of the issues in our community and some of the things you need to know. And if you have questions, you want to call or you want to get into the shout box and say hello to Dr. Brooke Balchan, please do so. And right now, I'd like to say a special hello and get well to Nicholas Sukraj, the usual audio control engineers away, but I hope you feel better, and we see you around next week, Nick. And now I told you about those songs being selected this week. The first hour, at least, will be selected by Dr. Brooke Balchan, and this is a favorite song, and I don't think she has liked or listened to these songs all her life because she was born in America and she never heard these songs, I think, until about 2 years ago. Oh, until about 6 years ago. So she'll be telling us more. But let's start with, is the first one going to be Roti Roti? No, King Singh. Which one is that going to be? All right, it's going to be Dala Wine. Come on, we're going to whine this song. Doctor, if you want to whine with me, I will wine with you, and also with Romel Balchan, your husband. Let's go now to the music coming from King Singh.
You're live in the mix with New York's #1 West Indian DJ. #1 West Indian DJ. DJ King Singh.
money wine. Dollar, 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 give me 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 dollar. Change, give me big money wine. Dollar, 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 give me 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 dollar
Good afternoon to you, Douglas Girl, DJ Rick. Hello to you, Prem. DJ King Singh is in the building, ladies and gentlemen, and the time is now 10 minutes after 12. It's time to go to my guest this week on this, the Balwan Singh Radio Show. Ladies and gentlemen, hats off to Dr. Brooke Balchan. She's my guest this week on the Balwan Singh Radio Show. Dr. Brooke, welcome you to the Balwan Singh Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the invitation, Mr. Singh.
All right, and you're pretty close to West Indian folks, right? You're married to a guy from, tell the audience.
Sure, yeah. I am married to Brooke Balchan. We met about 6 years ago. He's from Trinidad, and we got married down there a little over 2 years ago. So Trinidad is very close to my heart.
So why did you choose a guy from Trinidad? I mean, there are good-looking guys like King Singh from Guyana. There are people from other parts of the world. Why did you choose a guy from Trinidad to get married to?
Oh, Mr. Singh, you always put me on this spot. You know, we met one day, and that was it. You know, it was a good balance in my life from being all serious about medical school. And when I met him and his family, they were all about having a good time, and I needed that.
Good. Well, tell us something about yourself, your early childhood, like where, we know you were born in America, but where have you lived?
Sure. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I'm a New York girl, and when I was about in the 6th grade, I finished up 6th grade in New York, and then we moved to Pennsylvania.
Like where in New York?
In Brooklyn. I was in Park Slope for a couple years, and then we moved over to Kensington off of Ocean Parkway. And we spent a couple summers up in Pennsylvania in the Poconos. And my dad was a New York City cop. So when he retired, my mom said, you know what, it's time to move the kids to the country. So we moved out of the state, and I went to junior high school and high school in Pennsylvania. And then I knew my roots were back in New York, so I came back later on in life.
Great. And tell us about your education, like when you went to secondary, tertiary, university education, all that. Tell us.
Okay. So I started my education with the New York City Public Schools. When we moved to Pennsylvania, I went to public school through high school, and then I stayed in-state for university. I went to Penn State University in State College. So it was helpful for my parents to stay in-state. I got in-state tuition. I studied biology, and I did some research that let me move down to the D.C. area I worked at the National Institutes of Health, and I did some scientific research. And then I always knew I wanted to go into medicine. And I went to medical school, actually, all the way in Nevada. So I left the East Coast and went out to Nevada for medical school. And that's at Toro University, Nevada. It's actually an osteopathic medical school. So the initials that follow my name are not MD, it's DO. There's only one thing different between an osteopathic doctor and a regular MD doctor, and it's because we integrate a little bit more of the mind, body, and spirit, and how working with the musculoskeletal system in conjunction with your regular health and ailments can help motivate, recovery.
Good. I know about that because when I had heart surgery, my cardiologist was not an MD. A guy that did the stents or did the angioplasty.
Okay.
He was not an MD.
He was a DO.
DO. So it seems that most of your education until medical school was public universities, public colleges, public high schools, and it reminds me last week in the studio because I'm trying to get people who can give to us information and knowledge. Last week in the studio was my daughter, and she was talking also about the fact that she's a lawyer, but she spent most of her education also in public schools, and she didn't see much of a difference really in the quality of the person that comes out. I mean, there are differences in terms of public and the way they administer the colleges versus private, and also in terms of we talk about the plant, the physical plant. Some private colleges are much nicer and cleaner. But apart from those things, I mean, the education you get from a public institution could be really solid and good, and people should
absolutely consider it. Yes, I think the one benefit of going to public schools, and especially in-state schools, is that it's not a big strain on your pocket. When you go into higher education, you're taking on, an enormous burden of loan money. And so if you can kind of offset that by not doing, I'm definitely not bashing the private schools. If you're able to get scholarships and the money is to help put you through, that's fantastic. But the reality is, I wanted to go into medicine because it was an altruistic thing. I wanted to help people. And it wasn't until I was out that I felt that need to pay off my loan so that I can actually start living my own life. And so it helped, it helped out that I didn't have a big burden of loans and debt from undergrad. And, medical school is certainly expensive, and I'll be paying that for the next several years. But hopefully we'll be able to pay that down, no problem.
Well, we'll be talking about also later some of the things people can do to feel better or not get sick. And we'll also be talking about what age you decided to become a doctor and why. But now let's go to some of the music you like. DJ Singh, you're all set with the other songs, right? Let's go. This is the rolling song, right?
Hey. Roll it down, roll it down, roll. Control it down, roll it down, roll it down, roll it down, roll. Control it down, roll it down. When them fly up in your face, gal, make them know them place. Number one in all the race, gal. Could never replace independent and you're strong, gal. And you said the pace, fit and healthy living.
You're listening to music provided by DJ King Singh, but music selected by Dr. Brooke. Dr. Brooke, how is it going so far?
It's going great.
Good. I mean, the shout box, Camille Bandu, she just said, hello, Dr. Brooke. Welcome to the We Radio family, and great to have you aboard. And we also got welcomed by CD Indian and also Lisa, Camille Bandu. Thank you. And Kanji Girl, Hasakak, and Douglas Girl. These are some of the favorites and some of the people who are here, the regulars. But tell me what kind of music you love, really, before we get back to the hard stuff. What kind of music you love listening to?
Well, when I'm there to party, I really like to listen to a lot of soca. I also like some Latin music, salsa, merengue, bachata, and your regular hip-hop.
Good. And now let's talk about at what age you decided to become a doctor. You look fairly young. If you want to tell the audience your age, you can do that, but I'm not going to ask you if you want to volunteer that. But if you can answer this question without telling us your age, well, please do. Either way, I don't mind. At what age did you decide to become a doctor and why?
All right. I'm not embarrassed. I'm 32, and I decided I wanted to become a doctor when I was in high school. I really liked the sciences, and I wanted to help people.
Good. And did you have any influence from parents or other people you knew or doctors in the community, or were you sick? Well, yeah, was there a story behind it?
I don't know if there's really a story behind it. You know, I did lose my dad to lung cancer when I was in high school. But I had already made my decision before that. And I don't have any doctors in my family. I'm actually the first to graduate from a 4-year college. So I think it was pretty, I just had support always. And my family prioritized education above and beyond everything else. And I think I just had their support, and they always believed in me no matter what I wanted to do. If I set my mind to it, it was something that I would be able to accomplish.
Now, Dr. Brooke, any disappointments so far in being a doctor? I mean, this was the only profession you've had, right?
Is this the only profession? Yeah. I mean, I did research, in the science biology lab, but this is my career that I chose to enter.
Any disappointments?
No. I really love what I do. I think that's the one thing that stands, that backs me up on a daily basis. I love going to work. I love what I do.
So now, what do you do? Where do you work? Tell our listeners. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm a pediatrician, which means I take care of kids from when they're born all the way until they're 21, 22. And I watch and observe their development and their child exams, and I take care of them when they come in for sick visits. I currently am the medical director for the school district in Mount Vernon. So part of my role there is to help any student that wants to get into sports. I approve them all for their pre-participation physicals, and also New York State requires that children have physical exams documented in the nurse's office at certain grades. In kindergarten, 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 10th grade. And so I help make sure all my nurses have that file up to date, and any child that has not provided documentation, I do their physical exam in school. Another role I play today, once I leave here, I'm going to go up to Mount Vernon and observe the football game. So I'll be the sideline doctor in case there's any injuries there for those kids. And my other job, because school only takes up half my time, I work in the foster care field, and there's an agency called the Children's Village, and we're located in the Bronx, one of our offices, and I do the routine care for those children that are in foster care.
Incredible, a very complicated life at a very early age. 32 years old, Dr. Brooke Balchan in our studios today. Let's talk about music, the next song that's coming up. But before we do that, I want to ask Dr. Balchan to think of this question. What, in your opinion, is the biggest medical problem facing America or Americans today? Think about it. You'll answer it. Those of you who have questions, you can go into the shout box also and say hi to Dr. Brooke Balchan. But let's talk about the next song that's coming up.
So what's our next song?
It's Egyptian, I think.
Egyptian, hold ya. Yeah, so this is a very special song for me and my husband, and it's our wedding song. And I'm excited to hear it this morning.
All right, for you, Romel, and also for you, Dr. Brooke Balchan.
A special shout out to Romel.
Thank you,
the
DJ.
Love of my life.
Thank you, DJ King Singh. Thank you. Hey, Romel's blushing. Let's go to the music. And Romel is from Trinidad and Tobago, man. Big up Trinidad and Tobago today.
Right around you, can you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life? Girl, me want fi just squeeze you, put me things all around you. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Me guide them jam, me no care. Me take it anytime, anywhere. Inna the square, so me no fear. Long as a woman, I will be there. Me want a girl, me can't wine for me. Me want a girl, me can't take care of me. Let me feel it, let me reveal it. Oh, me have to really squeeze it. Girl, me want for you all, yo. Put me arms right around you. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Girl, me just want to squeeze ya, put me things all around ya. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Oh Lord, like a fast bike on the road, boom, 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 boom. Girl, on the back and she a boom, 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 boom. Give me the bag of one, the fat cum. Me the play last one time, it come to cum. Me out of control, I'm more fire, she want in her soul. She say more and more and still she grown. And still me multiply more, girl, me want fi just hold ya. Put me arms right around ya. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Girl, me want fi just squeeze ya, put me arms right around ya. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Squeeze ya, around ya. Tightest hold me ever get in my life. Sweet little da-da-da. Yeah, this hold me ever get in my life. Oh, me hide them try and me no care. Me take it anytime, anywhere. Inna the square, so me no fear. Long as a woman, I will be there. Me want a girl when take care of me. Me want a girl that can wine for me. Let me feel it, let me reveal it. Show me that you can turn. Girl, me want for you all, yo. Put me arms right around you. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Girl, me just want to squeeze ya, put me things all around ya. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Squeeze ya, around ya. Tightest hold me ever get in my life. Love, yeah, yeah. As long as it come to come. Man, son, the part or something. Oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Around you. My life around you. My life.
You're listening to the BRS Radio Show, the Balwan Singh Radio Show, the Better Radio Sounds on Saturday. I'm Balwan R. Singh. It's my pleasure to be here in the studio as usual between the hours of 12 and 3, making fun and having fun, playing music. Someone said so much fun could be illegal, but you know, Dr. Brooke, if we're having fun and people are happy with it, that's good for us, right?
It's good, but everything in moderation.
Moderation, consideration, or you lead to deterioration, right?
Wow, that was a great quote.
Good. What, in your opinion, is the biggest medical problem facing America or Americans today, Dr. Brooke?
I think we're in the same wavelength. Overindulgence. I think obesity really is our biggest concern for this entire country and actually the world. So we're seeing like people younger and younger, especially children, that are developing chronic illnesses like diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol that we were previously only seeing in the adult population. So as everybody ages and we're not curbing their appetites and making sure people are exercising, and we're going to see more and more young adults getting sick and hospitalized and being impaired for their future. So I think our future and the productivity of our countries depends on proper diet and exercise. And that's a big thing that I emphasize on a daily basis with all my kids.
And generally, how can people avoid being sick?
Oh, how can you avoid being sick? Washing your hands. There's nothing more important than washing your hands. You know, we're heading into cough and cold season and the flu. You can get your flu shots. That doesn't prevent everything. The most common illness in the fall now is going to be the common cold. And people transmit it just by coughing or sneezing into their hands and then touching doorknobs and common surfaces that other people touch next. And so before you eat your food, before you rub your finger in your eye, make sure that you're washing your hands and, before preparing food for your family and your friends as well.
Dr. Brooke, I was in a bank yesterday, and I was trying to send a wire out, and at the end of the transaction, the officer gave me some forms to sign, and she was giving me her pen, but I took my pen out, and then she said, I forgot, you always bring your pen. So I said, well, I always bring a pen for two reasons. One, to have a pen when I need one, and secondly, I don't want to give you my germs, and I don't know where your pen was. I take it to that level, seriously. And you wouldn't believe, not here where I work at We Radio or at MGN Funding Corp, but other places that I've been to, you wouldn't believe when you go into the men's bathroom, the people you think are the cleanest people, sometimes they don't wash their hands. Believe you me. Mm-hmm. They do their stuff, they just walk right out.
Yeah, I don't spend much time in the men's bathroom.
I know, but I hope not. I hope not. But seriously, they can avoid being sick by have hand sanitizer with them. And,
Sure. And then, for any families that have new babies in the family, you want to make sure if you're sick, stay away from those babies. Don't kiss on the mouth or touch their hands because they're the most vulnerable, the little babies and the elderly.
Now, is it possible that you can take too many precautions that it makes yourself not invincible to the viruses because the bacteria then attacks you because your immune system somehow doesn't deal with these kinds of germs on a daily basis?
Oh, Mr. Singh, you're getting very scientific
Well,
here.
no, I'm thinking about the people who go to Guyana, like, for instance, or Trinidad or someplace where they suddenly get sick because of the water. They go to India, whichever country you want to name. They get sick, and then the natives say, we drink the water all the time. Maybe, and they don't get sick. That's the kind of thing I'm getting at.
So the expats, when you're traveling home, you have to remember that that's not your primary environment anymore. And so you may have grown up in the Caribbean or out in the Far East, and while there, were exposed on a regular basis to certain bacterias or parasites and things that your body may have developed some tolerance to. But when you go back is when you're actually more susceptible, even, to the mosquito-borne illnesses like dengue. But food-borne illnesses come from water. And so the water's not as purified and sanitized as it is in the United States. So it's very, to be very protective of yourself, just to drink bottled water or purified water when you are traveling back home.
Good point. But let's go to the shout box a little bit. From Englewood, New Jersey, someone said that you especially inspired me to get a career. And then we've had Andy said, hi, doctor. I'm also interested in the profession. Can you explain the concept of osteopathic manipulative medicine? And from Englewood, New Jersey says, wow, you hit the nail on the head about diabetes. And then from Georgetown, Guyana, GT Man said, hello, Dr. Brooke. I hope you're enjoying the show as I am doing here in Georgetown, Guyana. So we've got a lot of positive vibrations, positive energy out there. And thank you for being the stimulant today, the enzyme.
All right, you were the catalyst. Mr. Singh got me here today. So, sure, Andy, I'd love to explain your question. So, osteopathic manipulative medicine is just a caveat of the field of osteopathic medicine. It originated back in the early 1900s by a doctor who was his name was A.T. Still, and he was an MD doctor. And at that time, it was before, the germ theory and before everybody was a little more sterile in the surgical field. And it was before the role of antibiotics. So people relied more on alternative type of medicine to treat. And at that time, it wasn't the safest place to go to the hospital to get better. You kind of went to the hospital to die. So they started thinking, how can the body be influenced, or how does the body, the way you feel, influence the internal organs? So osteopathic manipulative medicine considers the muscles and the bones and the nervous system. So if you strain yourself, you may have more tension in a certain part of your body. And so instead of only taking like an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen, you can also integrate some sort of massage or a chiropractic type of technique to alleviate the body's ailments.
So, doctor, you do see a balance between traditional methods of healing and the unorthodox or the non-conventional, such as homeopathic methods of healing, right? You see a balance between
There has to be a balance, and I think you can't just identify with one entirely. Modern medicine today has come and taken leaps and strides, and so you need to, and doctors need to be culturally sensitive to what their patients are willing to do. And nowadays, patients are a real part of the treatment plan, and we want to know what are your limits and what do you want to integrate into your own treatment plan so that we can make sure that you're complying and actually taking the medications that may lower your blood sugar, may lower your blood pressure, or help your cholesterol.
Great. We have another song. It's one of your favorites, but before we play the song, there's going to be a caveat. You do not encourage too much rum drinking, right?
No, the next song is called Rum Till You Die, and it's kind of an ironic song because alcoholism and drug abuse and substance abuse is a big issue. It not only affects your body and your mind and your social life, it's something that has to be done in moderation. So it means a lot.
Here's the song from DJ King Singh, Rum Till I Die. Yes, it's going to kill you, right, Dr. Brooke?
It could.
Rum till I die is a rum till I die. She tell me she don't love me, and that's the reason why